Good evening and welcome. I'm Harriet Agbinyi. Tonight, lamentation in Benue State as communities call for an end to attacks by suspected Fulani herdsmen. Amnesty International raises concerns over alleged excessive use of force in anti-terrorism operations. Nigerian military says human rights group is not objective. PDP celebrates Governor Wike's electoral victory in Port Harcourt, vows to relaunch party to reckoning ahead of 2019. And attacks hit Syria as the first major truce in the country's 5-year civil war comes into effect. And in business news tonight, industrial pharmacists appeal for preferential allocation of foreign exchange in order to secure pharmaceutical production in Nigeria.
And in sports news, Swiss tennis star Stanislas Wawrinka wins second ATP title of 2016 with a 6-4, 7-6 victory over Marcus Baghdatis at the Dubai Championship.
We begin tonight in Agatu, a local government in Benue State, north-central Nigeria, under siege from suspected cattle herders. Survivors of multiple attacks on communities in the local government area are appealing to the Nasarawa state government to implement the peace agreement signed with Benue State. Earlier, Channel's television correspondent in the state reported that over 20 villages had been overrun by the herdsmen. The army and police have since been deployed to the area, but the security forces have not been able to subdue the Fulani militia.
Amateur pictures of security operatives patrolling Okokolo, a village in Agatu local government area of Benue State, sent in by an eyewitness. The security operatives refused to speak on camera, but they told our crew that caught up with them that the armed headsmen even confronted them in this community on the banks of River Benue. They are now waiting for reinforcement to go on an offensive to liberate 6 villages under the insurgents' control. The crisis has increased the number of internally displaced persons.
Nobody will care for us. Even our people where we do, they don't care for us. Even people from around this river area, if they come meet us, anything we have, now we give it, so supply them a little thing where we have to eat, so we share them together.
Those left to defend their homes say as at Friday the 26th of February, the herdsmen were still in control of 6 villages.
I will hear the rumor that then they are, after they finish from Naku, then pass at Agboko enter Isla. So they scatter our distance, kill many people for Isla. So as he run, then burn many houses for Isla. So Isla now is empty, nobody there Isla now.
The soldiers went there yesterday and they met them. But due to the number they saw there and whether they were not well equipped, we don't know. So they had to turn back. And because we can't assess the place, we cannot ascertain exactly the casualty figures. But they saw some corpses on the road.
As they say, in times of conflict, the most vulnerable are the women and children. 3 pregnant women gave birth to their babies while fleeing from the insurgents. A traditional ruler is also concerned about the inability to give their loved ones proper burials.
Women and children, if they trek, if they are tired, they just put cloth on the roadside. You can see all the way from Adoka to Agatu, and the relations of those who were killed can't go there now to bury them. Government should come to our aid.
Appeal to the Nasarawa state government to uphold its end of the peace deal. A deal the Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State insists is on course.
The agreement was that the Benue people should hold themselves, the Nasarawa should control their asses, so there will be no crossing of the river. These people, they use flying boat to cross. They're not crossing by land, they're not coming by motorcycle. And that is the only means of transportation.
The government is intensifying effort to see that status quo is maintained and to ensure that the 2 governors of course, are in the forefront of mobilizing the subject to respect the peace accord.
The residents of these communities are afraid, homeless and jobless, and this is after a peace meeting involving all the concerned parties in Benue and Nasarawa State, highlighting the need for more efforts, this time involving the federal government, to end these hostilities quickly.
More update on that story now. The Joint Security Forces in Operation Rescue Agatu has reclaimed the 6 villages taken by the armed herdsmen from Ayila down to Okoklo, located at the fringes of the River Benue boundary with Nasarawa State. According to a source, the Fulani herdsmen have been pushed to the River Benue to free up the villages occupied by the attackers, who reportedly killed several persons and destroyed homes and property worth millions of naira in the surrounding Agatu communities. 6 corpses were also evacuated from Ayila, one of the worst hit villages where survivors fled from, without being able to bury the dead. The report also confirms that the joint operations comprising of the Nigerian police and army left a number of cattle dead. Although the 6 liberated Agatu villages remain a shadow of itself, with marks of wanton destruction of life and property, people have abandoned those villages until normalcy is returned. It appears there's no end yet to the blame game between Amnesty International and the Nigerian military, as the international rights group insists the military uses excessive force in the anti-terrorism crusade in the Northeast. The group's country director, Mr. Mohammed Ibrahim, maintains some innocent civilians have either been harassed or detained unlawfully across the country. Meanwhile, the Chief of Civil Military Affairs, Major General Rogers Nicholas, claims the accusations are baseless as troops continue to ensure that professionalism is maintained.
The Nigerian army has been in the forefront in the war against Boko Haram in the Northeast, as well as other forms of uprising in other parts of the country. Although major successes have been recorded against the insurgents, Amnesty International says the successes are not without some violations of human rights.
We have found out, unfortunately, that there was gross human rights violations by the military. We have gathered a lot of evidence, as we have indicated in our report. We have 90 videos. We have interviewed over 490 witnesses, victims, doctors who have seen these violations.
The agency also accuses the Nigerian army of unlawful detention and torture of civilians. Meanwhile, the Chief of Civil Military Affairs, Major General Rogers Nicholas, says the accusations by Amnesty International are biased.
With due respect to Amnesty, that they're doing their job, but they also should be able to balance what they're saying with what we have on the ground. Right now, if you go to our operational areas in the Northeast, with the collaboration we have Nigerian Bar Association, we have in those various places human rights observers who are trained lawyers, who are trained on issues relating to human rights, managed by Nigerian Bar Association. Okay? They report what they see in operational areas. I think that Amnesty should have been able to balance their report by asking or collaborating with this, but they are open people. All the information the Amnesty is saying is from hearsay, YouTube information, social media informations.
He also says the Nigerian army ensures professionalism in carrying out its duties and punishes any officer that defaults, a practice he says Amnesty International refuses to acknowledge.
Most of the allegations that Amnesty presented, yes, some of them happen during any operation in the world. All over the world, you have, when there are operations like collateral damages, there are issues like that. It's part of warfare. You understand? But that we are investigating it and that we are taking action is what matters most. But we're thinking that the Amnesty should have seen that, to also observe that the Nigerian army, as a professional army, has also been doing some of these things that they were talking about. Those allegations were investigated, and those found culpable were dealt with according to the Nigerian army laws and within the laws of the federal government.
The Office of the Civil Military Affairs was recently established to address issues arising from military's relationship with civilians, as well as complaints about alleged human rights violations.
In part 2, after the break, we continue with stories on fighting terrorism, and the Nigerian Medical Association plans an industrial action across the southwest in solidarity with their colleagues in Osun State. Just stay with us.